everybody, and welcome to Ridiculously Serious, a show where we draft teams from absolutely ridiculous categories and have a completely serious debate about them. My name is Mike, and I am your host. As always, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Joe and Brandy. How you guys doing?
Hey.
All right, so Joe, kick it off with a co-host question, as we always do, and I want you to tell me, what is your favorite ever video game?
That would be The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, which is the sole SNES release of the Legend of Zelda franchise. It is the kind of precursor to what they were able to do once they got to N64. And there would be no Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask without having A Link to the Past first. So I think it is very important to the video game franchise, as well as it was just one of my favorite games of my childhood.
Sure. Yeah, I figured you'd probably go something old school that seemed up your alley. I will admit to not ever being a Zelda guy, so I'm just going to assume that all the words that you just said, anybody who played Zelda was like, oh yeah, he's definitely right. Like, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, you were definitely right, Joe. That totally makes sense.
Okay, because that means it might as well have been like Mandarin to me. I have no idea what you were talking about.
Oh, you don't speak Mandarin?
Very, very lightly. I can ask for 3 chickens and a carpet to be placed on the roof.
Oh, okay. So you've played Mandarin Sheriff of Nottingham.
I can't say any of that. I've literally just thought of the most random sentence I could think of. I cannot speak any words in Mandarin, except possibly no, because I know no is no in like a ton of languages. So if no is no in Mandarin, then I can say no. So
you got like a 50-50 chance, yeah.
It's got to be at least that, right? So Brandy, my question for you this week is, if you could live in any TV show universe, which one would it be?
So there are a lot of TV shows that I like that are, not super realistic, but still like, I didn't want to pick something like The Office or Parks and Rec because I like the way that they interact with each other, because that's like a normal everyday thing.
Makes sense.
So I figured something much more unattainable, and the first thing that came to my mind is kind of a shallow, simple answer, but Pokemon, because it seems like
that'd be dope.
Nobody works. You just get sent off into the wild. Other people take care of you. They're like, here's some food, here's some stuff, go play, tame these wild animals, fight each other with them. The worst people in that universe are still like relatively not that bad, I feel like it would be not terrible.
Yeah, I think the worst person in that universe is actually Professor Oak, because he sent a 10-year-old onto a trek across the globe battling wild animals just so he could pipe his mom. So I think that probably makes him the worst. Yeah, I mean, he just literally said to a 10-year-old, he's like, here's this wild feral animal that hates you, by the way. Like, for the longest time at the beginning of your journey, he's going to actually like physically harm you a lot, right? But it's cool. Just go travel around with him by yourself so that I can get your mom alone for a little while. Like, just, go out.
Hey, I mean, good for him. It worked.
I personally think it's Nurse Joy, who runs the Pokemon centers, because every time you go in there beaten and battered. They heal your Pokemon, and Nurse Joy says, "We hope to see you again."
Yeah, it's pretty messed up.
I hope that your Pokemon become injured and weak and faint again, so you can come back here. That's sketchy.
I read a thing on the internet. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was recently. I'm trying to remember where, but it was recently. But it was a theory that Nurse Joy is a Pokemon, because there's an identical Nurse Joy at every Pokemon center.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a theory that she is a Pokemon, because otherwise, like, what are you going to have, 5,000 identical people? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, wouldn't the same go for Officer Jenny?
Show. Yeah, they're cousins in the television show.
No, I understand that they're cousins, but, like, that could just be, like, a front. It could be, like, a cover for, like, the world's most intelligent Pokemon. Or not, I guess not intelligent, but, like, most sentient and human-like, I guess would be like, somebody figured out how to make like a human-like Pokemon in a lab, and now they don't want to, tell everybody, so they just say they're cousins. Because since when do you have identical cousins? That's not a thing.
There's a song about that.
Is there?
Yeah. We're cousins. Identical cousins. I think it's from like the Patty Duke show or something.
that literally sounded like a song that you just made up for the occasion.
Yeah,
We're cousins,
identical
cousins. That literally just sounds like a riff off the top of your head. Like,
I'm pretty sure it is.
Guys, I swear I know this song. You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the Dora the Explorer map song. And I forget which comedian it is, but they have a joke about that where they're like, I want to be in the meeting for the map song from Dora the Explorer, where like the person walked in just super hungover, like totally forgot that was their job, and then the board was like, all right, we need the map song. That's today. We need that today. And he was like, I'm a map, and he does the whole song, and then they're like, we love it. That's literally what that reminded me of.
That's so good.
Yeah, that was funny. All right, so we will move on to today's episode. In order to start that, I guess we'll go back in time, and we will inform you of last week's winner, or I will. If you missed it, we drafted the best things to have on a deserted island. If you haven't listened to it yet, fast forward about 15 to 20 seconds so that you don't hear the winner. And that winner, the most prepared, or just, I guess, having the best time on a deserted island, was and is Brandy with the deserted island draft.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm actually shocked by that one. Thank you.
I think it was, my guess is because I think people enjoyed the entertainment aspect, or just like the fun living aspect. Real chill with the bed and the floaty, and like I think it was just probably a situation. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it was a situation where like people listened to Joe's and they were like, yeah, he's gonna live a good life on this island. Like he's gonna have what he needs. He's gonna live a good life. But Brandy's just vibing, and I'm about it. And that's my guess as to what happened there. I think you really appealed to the audience. I think you appealed to our specific listeners very well with that style of draft. So good on you for that. So congratulations to Brandy. Now this week, we are drafting the worst routine things that you have to do throughout life. So we're talking about the stuff that you dread when you see it on your calendar, the stuff that you just don't want to do, but you have to do it. After a bunch of rules last week, there are no rules this week. As always, that might, be dictated by the answers that people give. If something kind of doesn't fit, we'll address it when it pops up. But as far as what the picks could be, there were really no rules for this draft. So there are going to be 4 rounds to this draft, not the usual 5, because after a lot of conferring, we decided that this was actually quite a difficult draft to come up with good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and do 4 rounds for this draft. So let's go ahead and decide the draft order. So I'm going to stick with that theme, and Brandy winning last week will earn her the first choice of number picks for this week. So between 1 and 100, what do you got?
27.
27. Joe, go ahead.
63.
63. So we got 27, 63. So my mind was made up beforehand. I'm just going to go with 91. Sometimes I like to pick towards like the end of the numbers and just, give it a shot. Why not, right? So we got 27, 63, and 91. And the random number generator is 30. 30 is the number. So Brandy is going to go ahead and get the first choice. So that worked out well for you. So Brandy, what would you like? 1, 2, or 3?
I will go first.
Go third, did you say?
Sorry, first.
First. You'll go first. Yeah. Okay, Joe, second or third? Number 2. All right, this worked out perfectly as Joe gives the number sign with his hands on a podcast where people listen. So we'll just go ahead and pretend like that didn't happen.
I put up 2 fingers. Sorry. I'm trying to get the volume correct in my AirPods, but I don't know how they work because I'm not an AirPod guy.
Another week with technical difficulties. Well, I guess last week wasn't really technical difficulties. It was dog difficulties that influence things. But so Brandy first, Joe second, me third. That works out perfectly because I actually wanted the third pick. So I'm quite happy with that. So Brandy, go ahead and kick us off with your choice of first overall pick.
Yeah, so you'll have to let me know if this is legal, but this is the most routine thing that pretty much anyone does ever, and it is the worst part of my life, is going to work, if that counts.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I had it for like a minute on my list, but then I was like, I couldn't really decide if I wanted to go that vague of a route, but it definitely works.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely a valid pick.
I have some more specific, but that was just like the catch-all. Like, that's the worst thing.
Sure.
For most people, anyway, if you're working a full-time job that you're not particularly passionate about. Terrible routine for me.
Yeah, like I said, I had it on my list for a hot minute there, so I definitely can't argue with that. Especially, like you said, if you're not passionate about what you do, if you work like a cubicle job that you hate, stuff like I always think, like, whenever I think of jobs I hate, I think of like a cubicle job. Like, if I worked in a cubicle all day, I would probably not last more than a week. I have the absolute utmost respect for people that work like a 9-to-5 like office job because they keep the country running, and I would literally never be able to do it. So seriously, if you're listening and you do those jobs, like, I genuinely have a ton of respect for you because I couldn't do it.
Granted, I don't hate my job, but I'm not passionate about it.
Sure. That's ultimately why I didn't end up having it on my list, because I didn't feel like I had a great justification on my end, because my job is all right. Like, it's fine. I don't mind it. It pays the bills. You know, it affords my wife and I a pretty decent life. So, you know, overall, it's a net positive in my life. But I still definitely understand where you're coming from as far as, like, if I could choose not to do, like, if I could be retired and just do, like, hobbies and stuff I wanted to do, yeah, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think that's definitely a strong start. I think I will guess here as we move on to Joe's pick. I do have a guess as to what Joe's is, just due to the fact of his facial reactions when Brandy was talking about, like, the most routine thing that people do all the time. So I have a guess in my head. I'll let you know if I was right. So go ahead, Joe, with the second pick.
Yeah, so when Brandy started talking, I definitely thought that mine was getting taken. And I even told my wife before this that I definitely wanted the first pick this week so I could secure this specific pickup. It's something that just about everyone does just about every day of their entire life, and it's get out of bed. You know, wake up, get out of bed. That is, you know, hitting the snooze button. You know, I did it too many times this morning, but it's something that we all have to do on a daily basis, and it's like pretty miserable a lot of the time.
Yeah,
I will disagree.
I was wrong. That is not what my guess was as to what you were going to say. I was wrong. So I missed the mark. I'm usually pretty on you with being in sync, but I missed the mark on that one.
Yeah. I hate getting out of bed. Maybe it's because I have like dogs that just like will lay in bed with me, and it's comfy and nice and warm, and
that is nice.
King-size bed and all that stuff. But yeah, man, I don't like getting out of bed in the morning.
See, I love sleep, but I also love getting out of bed because I'm like, all right, it's a new day, time to get stuff done. You know?
Yeah.
It's exciting.
If it weren't for food, it weren't for like me waking up every morning and being like ravenously hungry, I would have no reason to get out of bed.
Yeah, I laughed when you talked about your dogs being in bed with you and being very comfy and stuff, because that does sound nice, but I have the opposite thing because I have a cat that gets into bed. Like, if we leave the door open or something, he'll run into bed at like 5:30 a.m. and just go absolutely bananas until we're both awake. Like, just biting our feet and like jumping. He jumps up on the headboard and then jumps onto our heads, like on the pillows. Like, he is.
That's why I call the headboard.
Yeah, he is full on Banana Town in the morning. So
nope,
definitely not the same. That. Yeah, definitely not the same. But so yeah, so that is not. I mean, it's a good choice, but that is not where I thought you were going there. But yeah, it's solid first pick. So I was quite happy, as I stated, with the third pick because I have 3 picks that I really wanted And I assumed that by the time any third pick would come around, that at least one of them would be gone, if not two. So I wanted to try to have the best potential chance to get two of them. And I thought that was the third pick, to try to get that second round before you guys. So after your first picks, though, I'm thinking maybe that might not have been the case, but we'll see. So the first one I'm going to go with is because it involves three different groupings of people, and it sucks for all three. So I felt like that really touched on a good one, which is parent-teacher conferences. So I was a shitty kid. I'm just going to say that straight out. I was a shitty kid. So my parent-teacher conferences were never a good thing. It's never like my parents went into them and the teacher was like, Mike, oh my goodness, absolute angel, like a treasure to have, just really just great. Nope. Never the case. Like, it was always about how I was obnoxious and interrupted the class and just generally a shitty kid. So it sucked for me as the kid. It sucks for the teacher because, and I actually think it sucks most for the teacher, especially if it's a shitty kid, because then they have to explain to the parents why their kid is shitty. And most parents don't want to hear about their kid being shitty, especially like, if you teach in like, an upper middle class type, or like a wealthy type school system, those parents, there's tend to be some entitlement. So, you're the teacher and you're trying to explain why your kid sucks. And the parents are like, no, not my kid. You must be a bad teacher. And you got to deal with that. So it's terrible on the teacher's end. And then on the parent's end, if you are a good parent and you're like receptive to what's happening, then you just got to sit there and listen to how your kid's a shitty kid. So like, all three sides of the equation, like they all suck. So for me, that's like a lose, and it's just a crappy thing you got to do, whether you're the kid, the parent, or the teacher.
I definitely thought about that one as well. I'm sure Joe probably did. Joe, you used to be a teacher, right?
Yeah, I actually didn't think about this one, but I think I'm going to give you props on this. It's a great one. To be honest, the worst part about it for teachers is actually not having them, but scheduling them. You send a note out to the parents, they write back with all their times, and you have to like Tetris all these, 20 to 25 parents. I had 26 kids one year. All these parents that have, I'm free Tuesday afternoons. Okay, well, I got to put them there, but there's other people that, I'm only free Tuesday afternoon or Monday. So where do I put them? It's a pain, and you only have usually 3 days, like before or after school, to hold these meetings. You have to fit everyone in. You got the parents that don't respond. Having the meetings actually is pretty easy, and it's those days are usually less stressful than days where you have students in the classroom.
Sure. You did also teach young kids, though, so probably a little bit easier when you're teaching young kids.
Yes, yeah, and I'm in the same boat as you, where it was interesting. I did very well in school, grade wise and stuff like that, but behavior wise, I did not.
Well, so that was me.
It was always like, oh, Joe is blah blah blah, being a part of the class. He's done very well on these tests. But, he stood on his desk today and jumped off into a recess and landed on another kid. Like, it was stuff like that. So
yeah,
I can relate. Definitely were some.
It definitely does seem probably better with younger kids because, there's only so much that could be bad. Because I'm picturing like more of like, 7th grade where you have to tell somebody's parent that their son is like inappropriately touching girls in class or something, where it gets to like, I'm not saying that's every kid, obviously, but I'm saying you get into like territories where it's like you have to tell them like worse things. You know what I mean? Right. Like no parent wants to hear that their son is like a salty kid, like nobody wants to hear that. So, they definitely.
If you went to my school, it's that your child has drugs in their locker or something much more serious.
Yeah, also not good.
We don't want to be the one to report to their parents.
Sure,
that's an administrative issue. That's anything more severe like that, you're just out of your pay grade. Turn it over to the principal.
That's true.
Yeah. It's pretty rough out there. So I wanted to pick that first because I'm surprised that you didn't think of it because with Joe having been a teacher, I thought that might have been a thought to him, and I knew you wouldn't take it first, but I thought you might have taken it second or third, which is why I wanted to lock it up in the first couple picks.
Sure.
So I'll go that first. Now the second one, like I said, I have to choose between. I have two more that I want, and I have to choose between which one I think might make it back. All right, I'm gonna go with dental cleanings. So they're both good and bad. Like obviously you go get your teeth cleaned and that's a good thing, it's improves your health, that type of thing. But like I don't know about you guys, flossing is hard. Like flossing is like it's not that it is hard. It's hard to like do. Like it's hard to like the act of flossing isn't hard, but like I brush my teeth right before I go to bed. And
Are you talking about like getting the motivation?
Exactly, yeah. Like just in general, like I brush my teeth right before I go to bed. And like the last thing I want to do is take another few minutes to like floss and stuff. And it's just like, I never have the motivation. So like, I still do. I do it once in a while. I'd say maybe like a few times a week I actually have the dedication to floss.
That's way better than most people.
Well, sure, but what I'm saying is that probably is better than most people. But still, when I go for a dental cleaning, my mouth gets wrecked, like absolutely wrecked. Like they dig in there with that picker, and it's just blood city. Like it's like insane how bloody it gets.
It.
Oh, see, I like it just hurts, and it like so. My problem is too. I have soft enamel from like issues as a child. I had like health issues. I had to take a bunch of medication, and that medication had long-term side effects that I have like soft enamel. So as a kid, it's been better lately, but as a kid I always used to get cavities, and I got a few root canals, and it was literally like I couldn't do anything about it. Like no matter how much I brushed or flossed, like I would still get them just because I had really soft enamel. So I don't know if that got better as an adult or what, but so I was at the dentist like all the time, which I kind of got used to, and I was very tough as a kid in the sense of like, all right, getting a cavity drilled, whatever, it is what it is. I got used to it. But then like having to go back to get the cleaning, like, it's just such a pain. And because it's almost worse, because at least with like a root canal, like people think like, root canals suck, but like they numb you. Like they numb you and then that's it. You don't feel anything. You got to sit there with your mouth open, and that's annoying, but like you don't feel anything. But when you get it cleaned, there's no numbing, right? They're just literally poking you in the gums with that sharp picker.
They're just getting in there.
The worst. The absolute. I hate it.
I love it.
Oh,
I have deep pockets in my gums, so I physically can't get in there myself. So when I go for a cleaning, I'm like, oh yeah, get in there, clean me up.
That took a weird direction. That took a weird turn.
I love dental cleaning. So
all right,
I'm
well, I guess
the only person on earth.
I guess you weren't going to steal my pick then. I guess I could have, maybe hung on to that one. But
yeah, I thought about kind of what you were going for here, but then I was like, you know what? I actually really enjoy brushing my teeth, floss. Like it feels good afterwards. Like it's like one of those things. It's like you feel great. Like I've never had a cavity. I'm 31.
It's impressive.
I'm on top of it.
Give you props for that. It's impressive. I've probably had.
I think it's mostly genetic.
Sure. I mean, I think I've had 7 or 8 cavities and 2 or 3 root canals. So like not an insane amount, but like not a good amount. But like I said, there was really, unfortunately, there just wasn't a whole lot I could do about it. Like I had, my dentist told me, he's like, listen, you got to brush as good as, and take care of it as good as you possibly can. Cause even if you take amazing care, you're probably still going to get stuff. So you want to try to limit it, as much as you can, which is a crappy thing to hear as a kid. Your parents are like, brush your teeth. It's important. And then the dentist is like, yeah, you're probably just going to get root canals anyway, to be honest. And you're like, oh, what the fuck? This is awful. This is terrible. So, all right, parent teacher conferences and dental cleanings were my first 2. So, Joe, you have your second pick.
Yeah. So I think I went in a little bit different direction than you, where you went towards things that happen, once or twice a year, some years.
Sure.
I guess dental cleaning, you do it yourself on a regular basis, but the whole dentist visits once a year, whatever. I did things that happen more frequently,
sure,
at least for my first couple. But man, there is very few things I hate more than folding laundry.
Okay.
Just putting laundry away in general, whether it's folded or hung up. I don't know about you guys, and I don't know if this is because I have kind of a bad back for someone my age, but my back hurts all the time when I'm folding laundry. It's just the way that you're like hunched over doing it, and then you put it up in the closet or the drawers or whatever. Like it just gives me like a very sore back, to the point where like I think through like most of my 20s when I was living at my dad's house before I moved in with my wife. I just would just throw whatever into wherever, and if it came out wrinkly on the next time, I was like, you know what, I got a wrinkled shirt today, all good.
I'm not even gonna lie, I do that now. I've given up at this point. I had so many years of folding laundry. I was folding my underwear for some reason. I'm like, why am I doing that?
That's a weird choice.
Entirely.
Yeah, that's a weird choice.
I mean, I did that as a kid. I would fold everything. I'd fold like socks. I
put all my socks together.
Put them all nice, color organize them. But and then as I grew older, less and less wanted to do that. And then, that's the point.
I mean, I feel your pain.
Sometimes I let it go. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel your pain because I have scoliosis, so I feel your pain in regards to having the back of an 80-year-old when you're about 30. So I definitely feel your pain on that. I will say though that so before my wife, we've been only married for a little over a year, but we've lived together for I think like 5 years now. Before moving in with my wife, I pretty much didn't fold any of my laundry. I did kind of what you said. I just kind of threw stuff in. I played, I was like a sports guy, I was always active and stuff. So I wore a lot of like freebie tees and stuff, my wife calls them. So I didn't really need to like fold stuff because it was going to look crappy anyway. It's not like I was wearing like polos and like, nice pants and stuff like that. And then when I moved in with my wife, she's, not right at the beginning, but she's stay at home now. I work, she stay at home. So she kind of does all the laundry. So I don't have to do any laundry folding, which is quite nice. Shout out Heather for that one. But it's definitely a good show. Like I said, despite me not having personal experience with it, I think the fact that I've consistently avoided personal experience with it lends itself to your explanation that it does suck. Where I spent most of my life avoiding doing it. So I think that would be I think that would be a point in your category for that. So it's a good choice folding the laundry. Just laundry in general is a pain in the ass, honestly, because I have done the laundry. Like I said, especially like when I lived at college, I did the laundry. I just didn't really fold it, and the whole process sucks.
Doing the laundry, I actually kind of like it. You get these clothes that you've worn that are dirty or towels, whatever, sheets. You put it in there, they get all clean and nice smelling, and then you put them in the dryer and they get all warm and fluffy, and that part's great. And then you take them and you bring them into your room, and that's where the terror begins.
Here's the important question though. When you took your clothes out of the washer, did you like expand them before putting them in the dryer, or did you just chuck them into the dryer as is?
So it depends. If something's like very obviously tangled up in itself or something else, I will take the time to, unfold it, not unfold it, but just pull it apart so it dries a little bit better.
Because that's always what annoyed me, was having to like separate crap, and like, your t-shirt would get in like this little tiny ball, so it wouldn't even dry well. So you have to like unball it. And like, that was always a pain in the ass.
But I will say one of the most satisfying things of the entire process is emptying the lint trap. I love it.
Sure.
It's like therapeutic. You open it and you're like, how much lint? How much? And I have 2 dogs and a cat. So that thing gets full after 1 or 2 loads sometimes.
Sure.
So we have a rule in the house. Every 2 loads, it needs to get emptied, just because we don't want a house fire or anything.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, sometimes you pull it out. There's not that much there. Other times you pull it out and it's like...
I'm sorry. Come on. You literally just said the phrase, sometimes you pull it out and there's not much there. How do you expect me to not crack up at that?
Oh, yeah.
All right. See you guys.
See you later. Podcast over. We're done forever.
That's not on me. I'm not taking responsibility for that one. You knew what you were doing. That's definitely on you. Also, getting back to the main point, I don't know if this is the same for girls, but the best laundry experience as a guy is in the winter, taking underwear out of the dryer and putting on like warm underwear in the winter.
No.
No. Are you kidding? That's like the best.
Maybe like a warm towel or like a blanket.
No, because it warms you to your core. Like it literally,
Your core is in your genitals.
I would much rather wear a shirt, a towel, a blanket.
No way.
A robe.
The last thing I want is to be like sweaty.
It doesn't get I'm not saying you're taking it out of the oven. It's out of the dryer. It's not that hot. It's just warm. How hot is your guys' dryer?
Pretty warm.
Are you having your dryer like beep that it's done and then you immediately run over and do it? Because that's the only way I can think. Because like when I go to my dryer and take clothes out, they're like warmish. They're not like on fire.
Still, I just don't have the desire for that warmth to be on that part of.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It might be different for girls, but like I don't know. For me, it always just felt.
I'm saying it's awful. I'm saying that would not be fun.
I don't know. We might have to take a poll of that or something. If we might have to make a Twitter. We might have to make a Twitter just to make a poll.
I'm curious if anybody else in the world is like, yes, that's the thing I love to do.
It's got to be. It feels so nice. I can't imagine. It feels so nice. I don't
All right,
know.
next pick.
Anyway,
I don't know. All right, Brandy, you have 2 in a row.
Well, on that note, slightly similar note, I know for a fact neither of you are going to have this. At least I would assume that you wouldn't. But a terrible thing that I hate is the routine visit to the OBGYN to get a pap smear. Because imagine...
I mean, I don't think we have to imagine. I think we're not for any like gross purpose or anything like that.
Graphic.
No, but I'm saying not even for that. I mean, just in general, because I think we can agree without imagining that it's a shitty process. Like, I don't, what I mean? Like, I think we can have that empathy.
And the lighting is just so harsh. Like, they have seen things that, like, I don't think anybody has seen at this point. And it's horrifying every time. It's great because, good, healthy thing to happen, whatever. Yeah, I love that aspect of it. But the actual process is
it doesn't sound. I think we're adult enough to be familiar with the process, and it doesn't sound fun. The one funny thing is though how you said like you don't think we're familiar with it, which obviously we're not in that sense.
Not that you're familiar with it.
No, but I'm saying like
just
that's
that I didn't think you would choose that.
Oh sure, but I just meant I was laughing because my wife is 7 months pregnant, so I actually there's a good chance I've been to the OBGYN more than you in the past 5-6 months. As far as like just obviously not the pap smears part, but as far as like regular visits, I mean, I've been there, half a dozen times, I think, in the last, 5-6 months. So, I mean, hopefully, listen, I'm not going to air out your business, but hopefully you haven't been there that much. I would hope so for your sake.
Would be slightly concerning.
That wouldn't be good.
Slightly.
That would be very concerning.
Yeah, we had Mike here earlier complaining about how like invasive going to the dentist and them cleaning your teeth is, and I think that you've outdone that one.
Sure.
For sure.
To be fair though, my dentist thing was not necessarily that it was invasive. It just hurts. I don't care if I sound like a little baby. It just hurts. They're just poking you in the gums. Gums are so sensitive. Well, to be fair, so are lady parts. So,
Yeah.
so I guess we'll call that one a tie, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very obviously a tie.
But all right, so that was your first of your wraparound.
Now that I think about it, like I enjoy getting my gums dug in, so like
it's a relief from that.
Much worse. Anyway,
all right, so your third pick.
Oh yes, I always forget that I have to go twice in a row. Also, another thing that is harrowing to me as a woman, which some other people may have the same experience, getting regular car maintenance, like more specifically oil changes, I hate. I could do it myself, but like who wants to do that? It's extra work. But my thing is, as a woman or female presenting person, going to see a mechanic about an oil change is a nightmare every time. I hate going there. I hate sitting there. It's smelly. And then they're so ignorant majority of the time. Oh, by the way, your air filters need to be changed and this and that, and you should be doing
No,
this.
they don't.
I'm like, my air filters are fine. I can go change them myself for $10. Please leave me alone. Change my oil and send me home. I hate this. Go away. It's not always the experience, but majority of the time I hate it.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty understandable, and obviously Joe and I can't necessarily speak on what women go through in situations like that, but something I might be able to slightly contribute is, so my wife and I bought a car the other day, and actually had a decent experience this time. But the previous time that we bought a car or we leased a car, we walked in together, and the salesperson that we started with just kind of like completely ignored my wife, and it was her car. Like, we were leasing the car for her, and he kind of did that thing where he like kept directing questions at me, and I kept saying, like, it's my wife's car, like, she's an adult, she can give her opinion on like what she wants. And that went on for a good few minutes until I was like, we're gonna work with a different salesperson. Like, I don't even want it, because there's a good chance we're gonna lease a car here today, because we're very much looking to do so. You know, we weren't window shopping. We were there because we looked online. We saw a car we liked, whatever. So I was like, there's a good chance that we're going to lease a car today, and I really don't want you to get the commission at this point. So we're going to go ahead and work with it. It was very off-putting, and yeah, I mean, you guys know just from knowing me in regular life that, I try to be a very empathetic person as far as like being understanding of those scenarios and those situations and stuff. And I will say that was probably the first like big one that really, that I experienced with my wife, where, it wasn't like an open your eyes situation, because that's kind of why I prefaced it that way, where like, you guys know that I'm very well aware that it happens and all that. But it was like the first one in person where I was like, wow, I can't believe, like, how is this still a thing? Like, how is this still a thing?
It's not all the time,
of course,
but when it does happen, it's like, come on.
Yeah. So I think that definitely makes, because it's funny, actually. It's funny because I talked to my wife about this episode because I was having a slightly difficult time coming up with things, just at least more so than normal. And she said something about oil change, and I don't mind it. It's not a bad experience for me. I have my personal car is a Lexus, and they have like an oil change program, like with Lexus, where if you have a Lexus, they give you,
I drive a Lexus.
It was relevant to the story. So I don't really, because my point is I don't really have to worry about oil changes because I just take it to Lexus and they take care of it. So it didn't apply to me personally, but my point is that it's funny, I kind of dismissed it because it doesn't apply to me, but it's funny that my wife said it. And then you also said, the other woman in this situation said it as well. So clearly that is a thing, so that is kind of a funny coincidence.
So this has come up in my relationship as well. And my wife used to be a service advisor at a car dealership, actually multiple different car dealerships during her 20s. She worked as a service advisor. And we referenced that meme where Nick Offerman walks into the hardware store. And the guy's like, "Can I help you with anything?" And he's like, "I know more than you."
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Shelby's very knowledgeable. There's a lot that she knows, further than me about cars. So that's our experience with it.
Joe flip-flopped hard this week after last week talking about how he doesn't want to be around his wife, especially not on a desert island. He has no interest in being near his wife or having memories of her. So he had to flip-flop this week and really compliment her and explain how she is superior to him in some ways. So yeah, I respect it.
I've been on the couch for the last 7 days, so now I'm trying to earn the bed back.
What, after last episode?
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead, Joe. You have your third pick now.
Oh, I do. Okay, so it's interesting that Brandy went in that direction. I thought I was going to get this taken, but mine is pumping gas, which is part close enough or far enough away from what Brandy said. Hers was more the maintenance and repair aspect, where mine is just the refueling process. And it kind of comes twofold here because there's the time aspect, and I don't know about you guys, but typically with me, I leave my house and I notice I'm on E or close to E, and I'm like, oh crap, I gotta get gas. And I'm someone who is frequently either right on time or late, like I was to this recording. And so often if I have to stop for gas, that means I'm going to be an additional 5 minutes, 10 minutes late, depending on everything. And then there's the aspect that you have to pay for that gas. And, gas isn't cheap, especially when you're a new driver starting off, a teenager. Like putting $20 in your tank every week can, that really cuts into how much spending money you have often.
So on that note, just because I also referenced it before, like I said, my wife and I leased a new car last week. She needed a new one. Her lease was up, and we ended up leasing a Hyundai Tucson hybrid. So it's my first experience with like a hybrid car or anything like that. And oh my goodness, it's fantastic. Like we have had to drive a bunch already, and like it's so nice. It's so nice to not have to fill up that often. Not even money wise. Like obviously, money wise, it's nice to not have to fill up as often, but just to not have to do it. Like to not have to like, oh, we got to go to this place, but we got to leave 5 minutes early because I got to go get gas and stuff like that. And I'll actually kind of help you out with your pick and go one above because you guys are from Pennsylvania. Well, I guess not Brandy now, but I grew up in New Jersey. And people think that's better. Like, oh, you don't even have to pump your own gas. Somebody does it for you. It's way worse. It's way worse because, first of all, you have to sit there and wait. Because if they're doing other people's cars, like you just have to sit there and wait for them to feel like getting around to your car. And then it's like, there's like an awkwardness to it where it's like paying somebody to pump your gas, like, or not even paying them. You're not paying them. You're paying the gas station and they're just there pumping your gas. Like, it's just super awkward. I never liked it. Like, I'm more than happy to pump my own gas so that I don't have to have that weird experience of like,
It's also the alternate side of if there's nobody else there, then the gas station attendant half the time is just kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
They're like, so what's and then they clean your window and I'm like,
and then you have to tip them. You have to tip them when they start cleaning your windshield.
That's just ugh.
Speaking of that, so I grew up in Pennsylvania where you pump your own gas. The first few times when I was like, 18, probably around 18 years old, maybe 17, first couple times that I drove to New Jersey and got my gas pumped for me there, I was like, oh, this person's doing me a service. I have to tip them. And okay, so I guess you tip like 15-20% like you do at a restaurant. Is that how you do it? So I was like filling up, I was getting like $25 worth of gas and giving them an extra $5, and that adds up.
That adds up quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
so
thing you don't live in Jersey.
No wonder that's on your list. No wonder you hate gas.
I quickly learned that was I was being a little overly generous. But,
sure. Hey, I'm sure they appreciated it.
Nothing wrong with that.
All right, so I am quite happy because you guys went a slightly different direction, like you noted before. You kind of went for more of like the everyday stuff. I went for more of like the bigger stuff, the stuff you do all the time, but it's still bigger stuff. And I'm actually going to get all 4 things I wanted, so I'm quite happy with that. So sticking with the school theme that I had before, my third pick is going to be attending school recitals, especially if it's not your kid. Like bonus points if it's not your kid. Not in like a creepy way. I'm saying if they're like a niece or a nephew or something like that, like, because if you're a parent, like you have to go and you're like, oh, look how cute my kid is. But like, if you're like a family friend, that got roped into it, or like, a other relative, like you don't have that same feeling, that internal parent feeling of like how cute the kid is, So like, listen, I'm just going to say it. They suck. They suck. Like, great, you're teaching these kids a skill. Like, maybe it'll get them into theater or music or whatever. That's fantastic. Like, I'm all for that. I'm not for sitting there for 6 hours listening to this absolute garbage tier rendition of Annie. Like, no, I have no interest. Like,
it's a hard knock life.
I've literally, like, I cannot, like a ballet recital. Like, my niece does ballet, and she's actually quite good. But it's still like, you don't want to watch 8-year-olds do ballet for 4 hours. Like, that's miserable. I don't want to watch 28-year-olds do ballet for 4 hours. Like, it's, and these school recitals and stuff, they're like I said, I'm all for them. I don't want them to stop or anything. But like when you have to go to one, if you're honest with yourself, you are dreading it a little bit. Like if you're a parent and you're going to one, no matter how you feel about your kids, which is hopefully that you love them, but no matter how you feel about your kids, like, there is a part of you inside that is definitely dreading seeing that on your calendar because it's going to be an awful night.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, from a teacher's perspective, I actually was one of 3 the leads, I guess, the teachers that led the kindergarten drama club at the school that I taught. So it was me and 2 other teachers, and we put on a play with kindergartners.
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
So I'll tell you, the entire process of casting, practicing lines, rehearsing, and all that stuff was super fun, especially watching them progress. The night that we did the performance for the entire, building full of parents in the auditorium and all that stuff was one of the most stressful. Like, I was sweating. I was like, it was difficult. It was very difficult from my end, trying to make sure everything went perfectly for the parents. So there's definitely pressure there on both sides.
Yeah, it sucks. Just all around. All right, so I will wrap up my draft. I will hop up. I saved this because I figured neither of you would take it, even though it's probably number one for me overall. I'm going to hop up on my soapbox for a minute. Or my, I guess it wouldn't be a high horse, probably just soapbox. Paying mortgage interest up front. So,
oh yeah,
this obviously doesn't apply to everybody because there's a lot of renters. There's people that unfortunately, can't afford a house given our current, just country situation, which is terrible. But for those of you who don't know, when you get a mortgage for a house, there's this awful, awful thing that happens in the U.S. where the giant, banks and corporations say, we fucking hate you and we want bad things to happen to you. And they charge, all the interest gets like, they call it amortization, where they're saying, oh, it's actually a good thing for you because the interest will be less later on, as you're paying. No, it's the opposite. It doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense. The faster you pay down the principal, the less interest you'll pay. And I just bought a house last year. And when I looked back for what I paid in my mortgage, over the last year, like 70% of my mortgage payment went to interest and like 30% went to principal. And it's a horrible thing because it doesn't allow people to accrue wealth quickly, and accrue equity quickly to where like starter houses aren't a thing anymore. Like, you used to have a starter house where you'd be in a house for like 5 to 7 years and you'd build up equity in that home and then sell it and buy your forever home. Like, that was kind of a route you could go. And you can't do that anymore because if you put 30,000 down on a house, say you get a $300,000 house, 10%, you put 30,000 down because that's a very realistic scenario nowadays. People aren't doing 20% for their first home. How many 25 to 32-year-olds can afford, 20% in this housing market, in this job market? So
I put 5% down.
I did 5% because I could have done more, but it was a situation where I was like, I'm going to keep as much in my pocket as possible because I couldn't do 20%. So I was like, instead of doing 10 or 15%, I'm just going to do 5% and keep as much in my pocket as possible. So, you put that. So say you put 30,000 down on a $300,000 house. If you are looking to move in 5 years, you literally might have 40,000 in equity. Like, if your house hasn't gone up at all, which, probably went up over time, but like, it's all going towards interest. Like, you're paying down interest. And, if I'm going to be serious, 40,000 is probably a little low. Probably not 40,000, probably closer to like maybe like 50 to 60,000. But even so, like, that's not good enough. Like, that's not what you should have after 5 years of home ownership on a 30-year mortgage. Like, and it's brutal because it doesn't allow people to, basically move up and move on in life because they're just stuck paying off the interest first and putting the money directly into the bank's pockets and, in their accounts and not kind of buffing themselves up in life at all. So that is my biggest like routine thing that I hate. I just had a feeling you guys wouldn't take it, so I could leave it to last. But yeah, paying mortgage interest up front is an incredibly stupid process. As far as I'm aware, we're one of the only countries that does it. I'm pretty sure most of Europe is like a flat interest where you're paying X amount towards the mortgage, X amount towards interest, and it just stays that way. So you gain equity faster. It sucks and it needs to change and it's awful. And that's what I'll say about
terrible. That. I agree with you entirely, wholeheartedly.
So that's enough of my soapbox. We will go over to Joe for his final pick of the draft.
Oh, it's on me already? Ho-ho.
It is on you.
All right, so this is kind of like a lumping of things together, and if you want me to be more specific, let me know. But this is the entire process around eating other than eating itself. Because I love eating. But cooking, preparing the food, even getting the food from the grocery store.
So general meal. So I think the best way to specify that would say general meal prep, meaning like the whole process, meaning like the shopping, the buying, the preparing. Like I think if you're talking about meal prep, you have to count shopping and everything because that's prepping for the meal. So I think that's the best way to categorize that.
Yes, and if this isn't being too broad, the cleanup as well.
Sure.
That goes along with you're done eating. You bring your plates in. If you got any food, you got to scrape that off. You put it in the sink. You rinse it. If you have a dishwasher, I didn't have a dishwasher for a number of years because my dad's broke, and he was like, "Oh, we'll hand wash dishes until we get a new one." And then it was like many years until a new one was acquired. But doing the dishes, putting the dishes away, like all these things have to be done. Off the counters if you use that. So a lot of time is spent on that kind of stuff on a daily basis.
I know, my wife listens to these, and I know she's listening now and probably going to vote for you solely based off that because she hates the whole food process, like cooking and everything, just the whole, like you said, cleaning up, like the whole process. She hates it. She's not a fan. But it's funny how we compliment each other sometimes because I actually, so the only thing you left off your kind of, your pick in that process was the actual eating. Whereas on my list, I have eating because I think I can safely say now, because I don't think Brandy's going to pick it after you pick the eating process, but I like food, I like eating food, it tastes good and stuff. But like, if you said I could just like eat this little, I wouldn't want to take a pill. I mean, I guess I would, but like a chewy vitamin, if I could do like a chewy vitamin instead of eating and you get all the nutrients, I totally would. Cause that saves you so much time and effort and the whole process. Yeah, I would do it. 100%.
Eating is one of the best parts of my day.
Yeah, I love eating.
Nah.
I think Mike, Brandy, I think Mike is saying this because he's never been to the cheesy vegan.
Oh, man. You gotta hit up the cheesy veg.
You gotta come to the cheesy vegs, dude.
I have had V Street in Philly, which was a vegan cheesesteak place, which was very good.
Yeah, that place is good. It's like the third or fourth best vegan cheesesteak in Philly, though.
All right, I guess I'll have to try the other ones. But just like I said, I like food. Like I do like eating, but it's not enough where like if you said I could just take that whole annoying ass process away, I still would. Like if I could just take it away, it saves you time. And you could keep in mind too, you could eat. Like it's not like saying you have to take this chewy vitamin. Like if you're not if you're a person that likes eating that much, then you just still make your food and eat and stuff. I'm just saying I would like the availability of that type of thing where like if I had a couple day stretch where I was going to be very busy, with work or with family life or whatever, where I didn't have to take all the time and money around eating. You just take that quick little pill or whatever, and then you're sorted. You know,
I would like it for that reason. But if I had the option, I would like to eat rather than not eat. I
know they have pills that essentially do that, but I don't want to get hooked on hard narcotics. Because that sounds worse. I know that definitely could take your appetite away and not have you worry about having to eat, but I don't want to go that route.
Do that one.
Yeah, probably not the best, but so I do. Yeah, I think that process makes sense. The food process.
I was going to say, hearing this is also very funny to me because, Mike, I don't know if you're aware, but there was a span of months where Joe and I and a few other people had played a game called Ref. Which was a survival game. And Joe's entire existence in that game consisted of him cooking the entire time.
Yeah, that was my.
That makes sense.
That was my raft.
That
was my boat.
You. No.
Oh my God, you were there the whole time.
You're talking about two different boats. So before I played on your boat, the one that you had as a server, Rob and I both also played with Mike. And I did the exact same thing.
I was just gonna say you cooked on both boats. That's why did you do the same thing all over again?
And it would not leave the boat.
That's funny.
Would not leave it, but it makes sense now because you're getting the enjoyment of the things that I'm imagining, like you're not doing them in real life because you hate them, but in the game it's so much more streamlined and easier. And you're getting the whole cooking
that is
process,
pretty funny.
But you're not doing the eating part
that
you enjoy.
That's
so it's
interesting.
Funny.
That's interesting. That my favorite part of that game is doing everything that I said I did not like doing in this.
I think you automatically lose the draft now, so I think we can go ahead and go. I think we can go to Brandy for her final pick.
No, stop! Don't do it.
All right, Brandy, bring us home.
All right, perfect. So I thought it was going to get picked, but maybe not. I don't know. It's
Well, it didn't. So
kind of a stupid thing. But it was briefly mentioned already, and I do agree with this one entirely. But going to the DMV, specifically in New Jersey,
sure.
because I've just realized after like living in the South and a couple other states in recent years, much easier to get things done down there than it is here.
Fewer people.
There's different buildings that you can go to get different things done. You can get a paper ID mailed to you that
Sure.
you can just use temporarily. Yeah, right?
What?
Yeah,
This
right?
concept is foreign to me.
Up here, you have to physically go to the DMV or the MVC, and you have to sit there for 4, 5, 6 hours sometimes just to
So
get your stupid license.
so I'm gonna
for
change
you.
your life, and this is why DMV didn't make it onto my list, even though the process itself does suck. You can make appointments at the DMV online, and then you don't have to sit there for 4 or 5 hours. Like every time I've gone to DMV, I've been out in 15 minutes.
I've made appointments, and it never runs out. Maybe it's just the DMV that I go to specifically.
Maybe because
But
I've
it's
never been there for more than 15 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it's also horrible, I imagine, on their end, too, because these people are miserable.
Oh,
that
of
are
course.
working there.
Sure.
Rightfully so. Nobody researches what they have to bring beforehand. It's just a bunch of idiots. Like, I have the papers and I need my thing. And they're like, you don't have the right stuff. And it's just a bunch of back and forth that nobody wants to be.
Sure. Yeah, it's not fun. Nobody likes seeing it on their calendar, regardless of whether you're making an appointment or not. You know, the time it takes. Nobody likes seeing it on the calendar. So that makes sense. That's a good pick, and that's a good finisher to the draft. I think that's a good last overall pick. We are having too much fun lately and going a little long, so hopefully the listeners are enjoying it. But just to round out like I normally do quickly, the other things that I had on my list as backups, I had commuting to work, not work specifically, but like I used to have to drive an hour for work, and it's miserable. If you think about spending 2 hours a day in the car where like you're not doing anything other than going to work for 8 or 9 hours, which also sucks. So, the commuting part was always awful to me. I had working out just because like, I know a lot of people do like doing it, but like it sucks. Like working out sucks. Like you're in pain. Like if you're lifting to like get bigger and stuff, then it like hurts, and it just sucks. Working out sucks. Like I said, I had eating, and then I struggled a little with this one, but I wanted to make sure I had enough backups. So then I also had mowing the lawn, which isn't the worst thing. It's not the end of the world, but my problem with mowing grass is that it grows back because they're jerks. All those little grass. And it just sucks. You have to go out like every week. Like I live on the water, so like our water table is nuts, and it's very fertile ground. So like my grass, I literally have to mow it at least once a week, sometimes every like 5 days. And it's just like, I just cut you dumb bitch. Like, stop growing. Like, we just did this. Like, we just did this dance like 5 days ago. Would you knock it off? Like, it sucks. I just did it.
A big one.
If I had to mow like once every like 3 weeks, it wouldn't bother me. But like when you have to go out and do it like more than once a week, oh, it's like, we just did this, you freaking jerks. Like,
yeah, I thought about doing yard care, but currently where I live, my house is in a townhome community that has an HOA, and they do all of it for us. Like we do our own gardens and stuff, but
that's cool.
The lawn is mowed for us, so I took that off the list for that reason.
That's cool. Still hate HOAs, so
yeah.
I mean it's not ideal, but
sure. But yeah, so that rounds out our podcast of stuff that we hate. So we hope you enjoyed listening to a podcast of terrible things. We went kind of with an anti-approach this week, which I thought would be a nice change of pace because we've been doing kind of funny stuff or stuff we enjoyed. We had the nostalgia draft. We kind of were doing some really fun, nice stuff. So I thought I'd do a little change of pace with all terrible, terrible stuff that everyone hates. So we hope that you got more enjoyment out of this episode than you do out of any of the things that we talked about other than your kids' recitals. Hopefully you're not a terrible parent. Just kidding. I'm sure I'm going to hate my daughter's stuff. So, I'm going to love my daughter. And I think that's the important thing. And hiding it. I can't let her know I'm going to hate it. Hopefully she's into cool stuff. I don't know what cool stuff would be. I'll have to figure that out.
Listen to the podcast years later and find out, wow, this whole time my dad hated all of my recitals.
Might be kind of funny though, if she does. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
I guess it depends on what kind of relationship we have. But
That's true.
before, my wife is listening to this, so it's not going to go well for me regardless. So you can rest easy knowing that I will get in trouble for this, at least by someone. So that I will wrap up before I dig a deeper hole for myself. That is our show for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, send in any ideas, ridiculously serious podcast@gmail.com. If you have a chance to rate the podcast 5 stars, would be awesome. It would really help us out. That is the whole spiel. You know everything that we normally say. Help us out, 5 stars, send in ideas, all that fun stuff. Thanks for listening today, and we will be back next week.